Welcome to Boys and Brunch. This is the show where we expose everything going down on the timeline. And we're talking about some different things these days. We're evolving, we're growing. As you can see, we have a new regular co host with us. Let's welcome Mama Shay to the room. Hello.
Hello.
And of course, we're joined by Marcus Haynes. We have another regular co-host who will be joining us soon. But let's just talk. Let's just jump in. Let's talk about the topics that we have going on today. We are going to be talking about this Wild 'N Out um, joke that a comic made on the show about Whitney Houston and how poorly that landed with people. And then we're going to transition into, I guess, a discussion about kind of being judged based on like saying like one bad thing or just kind of having one awkward moment. Um, so we'll have some discussion. We'll have some discussion here. It's going to be really good. And Mama Shay, since you're new, why don't we just start with you? Let us know what's been going up, what's new, and tell us what you're drinking today.
Well, obviously the hair is new. I lost 3.1 pounds of locks
Wow.
after a 10-year journey. It was time to go, and so I got lighter in physically lighter, and then tossed some bleach on it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's
Looks good. Looks good
thank
though.
you. That has definitely been a highlight. My job even messaged me after I posted on social media, and they're like, "Yeah, we're gonna need that new company picture. Come ready on Monday." And then I have my love mug, and I am drinking an adjusted amaretto kiss. They ran out of cranberry, so I have orange juice, ginger ale, and amaretto.
Okay. Very interesting. See, I mean, like I said last week, you're gonna have to teach me all these concoctions because all I know is, a bottle of wine, and I guess I know how to make a margarita now because that's like the only. But it's like, two different ingredients. So
Google
or
is your
three or
best
three.
friend.
What'd you
Stare at
say?
Google
Google.
is your best friend. Stare at your cabinet, be like, I have this and this and this. Let me know how to make it.
Awesome. So as you can see, we also have our other new regular co-host. I'm so excited, Khalid Rivera. Hello, welcome.
Hello.
We're excited to have you. So we're just doing our quick introductions right now. So let us know what's been up with you. Are you drinking anything with us today, or what's up?
No, I haven't even had breakfast yet. I noticed, well, I usually do an intermittent fasting diet, which means like 8 hours of the day is my chunk of time to eat, and then like 16 hours of the day I don't eat. So I notice naturally like I'll eat around like 1 or 2 o'clock, and then I stop eating like around like 9, 10 o'clock. So that's usually my schedule of eating.
Oh,
It
okay.
works for me. I've been doing it for a while, and then I saw somebody post it, and I was just like, you know what? Let me get into that. So I haven't had any drinks or eating yet. I'm enjoying my summer. I
Good.
saw somebody in the comments was asking about how my date went.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, we have to get an update on that.
It went really well, and we've had 2 dates so far, and we're planning another one soon.
Okay,
Uh-oh.
look at you.
Uh-oh.
And I remember we were talking about like, whether they were going to pay for the first date or something. So, did they pay for that first date?
Absolutely.
There you go. Okay, I hear
Absolutely.
that.
I just think it's just, it's daily manners, because if I'm approaching you and I want to take you out, then I'm gonna pay for that first date.
Exactly.
I just think it's just proper. It's just proper etiquette.
I hear you completely. Marcus, real quick, why don't you give us a quick update and let us know what you're drinking?
So quick update. Not much. First week of school is already kind of is behind me, so kind of getting back in the swing of things as far as work. Also kind of setting up for a lot of big plans that I have in the coming weeks. So focus kind of on that. And as far as my drink, I'm just drinking one of my usuals, my Bacardi Punch. So yeah.
Okay.
Mm,
Bacardi Punch. Yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I'm trying to think. I had to cancel all my trips, so I'm
Oh,
annoyed at that because, Delta is in the building, and I'm not trying to be in the same building as Delta. You know what I'm saying? Unless it's a flight. Okay. So yeah, so I'm just trying to be safe. I feel like if I were gonna go anywhere like on a trip, it would be with some friends who I know we're gonna go to like eat outside somewhere or just be, separated from people. I'm not trying to be all up in crowds and be up in people's faces. Uh, but I am not necessarily drinking today, but I am drinking today. I have a I have a sparkling water with some lemon in there. So yeah, I wasn't able to. I know, thumbs down for that, but sometimes I have my weeks like that. But we are going to jump into these topics. We do have actually one topic I want to get into before we get into the wild and out joke. And there was this tweet by at Mojo Disco. Let me put this up on the screen, and we can talk about this real quick. So apparently, she says, my friend gets his mail delivered to his grandmother's house. He didn't know
mm.
Out magazine came with one of his purchases. And this is what she wrote on his magazine. So as you can see, this is a copy of the magazine. And then you can see his grandmother wrote some writing on the side here. And she says, I do not want this magazine coming to my house. I want some great grandchildren. And this is not helping your grandmother. So what do y'all think about this? I guess, just in general, because I'll get into some more specific. I'll get into some more specific questions soon. But like, have you ever I don't know, have you ever gotten that sentiment from family at all? Well, let me start with Khalid.
My family always knew. My dad told me that, like, he knew that when I was 4 that I was this way. I never liked girls. I didn't know what the whole, homosexuality and straight thing was until I was 13 years old when I came across the words and know about, the definitions and everything. And I said, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense. So I never had that experience with family saying we want, grandkids, we have expectations of you. No, never had that.
Right. What's your impression of this, Marcus or Mama Shay? Anybody, just jump in here. I mean, because a lot of people are saying, you don't have to really necessarily give grace to family members who say this type of stuff. Is that kind of how you're feeling? I see you kind of nodding your head, Mama Shay.
Absolutely. My first thought was, well, if I do give you grandkids, you won't have access to them with that attitude. Like, you're not gonna mess up my kids psychologically because you don't know how to conduct yourself in an appropriate manner. So no, I am for writing off family members and keeping a safe distance, and above everything else, protecting your peace. So bye, Grams.
Bye, Grams. But see, some people would say that, you're just like, they're old and they've got like this old mentality.
And
Marcus, what are you thinking?
That's an excuse. Oh, they're old. I don't care. You ain't too old. My grandma went back to school and learned an entirely different trade. I know because I went to the school with her. You ain't never too old to learn, and you ain't never too old to not act foolish.
I hear
Like,
you.
and that's kind of where I am. Like, that's foolishness. I see that, I saw that, so, one of the comments came up. It was like, did she really write that? I think that we are underestimating how trifling people can be. It could be possible that it is something for internet likes. That's always possible, but it's something that actually happens. This is something that my dad had told me to my face. Like, these are things that happen. So we definitely can't just like write this off as just fake. And even if this particular situation was fake, again, living witness that this stuff happens for real.
Yeah. I won't say that I've ever gotten Excuse me. Oh my gosh, this water's working on me already. The sparkling water. It's the gas. Excuse me,
Bye.
y'all.
Goodbye.
At
Goodbye.
least it's coming out this way and not the back end. Let me just say that. But yeah, I've never gotten that from my family, thank goodness. And it was so weird because I like tweeted out. I don't know. I guess, Twitter, I was trying to put like a funny spin on it because I had an interaction with my dad a few days ago, and he was like, "Well, thank goodness I got some grandbabies," and he just looked at me because. But it was like in a joking way, like he doesn't really care. It's not like that, but I was trying to put it out there as I was trying to convey. But see how your initial reaction was. It's just kind of how it came off, and so maybe I should just leave those conversations in the house. Maybe I should just leave those conversations in the house because he didn't really mean anything by that.
About your dad, so.
Maybe he's gonna pressure you to adopt, because I know my family, they ask me, and I'm like, I don't want children, period. Like I don't want to adopt or anything like that. I'm like, no. So I'm just wondering if they've asked you about the whole adoption thing, because I know my friends that are in our community, like their family, they kind of ask them that question. Okay, well, if you're not gonna have kids biologically, what about adoption?
Right. I mean, I feel like the common misconception is that gay people can't have kids, and we can. It's men who can't biologically like birth children, but we can still create children. I mean, there are still ways to make that happen. Marcus, go ahead.
I'm just always like that whole like, oh my God, you're not gonna have kids now. It's like, do you know how many people I know that are gay as all get out that have a whole gaggle of children?
Married and everything, leading double lives too. Hello.
And it ain't even got to go that far. It ain't even got to go. It's literally like I know people that's legit. That's like, you know what, I want to have a baby, so they went and did whatever they needed to do to have a child. Some of them just have it, I guess, the traditional way. Some of them do, insemination, whatever their path is. You still can have children. So one, that's an excuse.
Yes.
And two, my second thing is like, why are you so concerned about me having children? It sounds like you're my business. Don't do that.
Right. Mama Shay, I saw your hand up, but let me just let y'all know. The hand up is Marcus's thing. If y'all want to say something, just say something, okay?
So she's gonna do the finger.
Give you that good old Baptist finger. So my only comment was going to be like, we hear it on the straight side or the hetero side of things too, and it's like, when are you going to have kids? What, like, is that pressure to have children? And like, there's plenty of hetero people that don't want kids either. It's like, and it's okay. And I would rather that way up front before you're in a situation and like, oh, what to do now, because I don't really want this, and all the complications that like come with ending pregnancies and all of that. So if you want them, you want them, and if you don't, you don't. And it's really that simple, because you can figure out a way.
Right. So Focus in the chat is making a good point. He's saying, wait, how can a grandmother be concerned about grandkids because she already has one? Think. So she's asking her grandchild about great grandkids. So it's just, I don't know.
Thank you.
Is it a little, it's just, well, it's bad anyway, but
it's just never
it should
enough.
just be an extra.
Yeah.
More and more. That's it.
Exactly. It's greedy. It's greedy regardless. But like, you already have great. Like, why do you want great? Chill. Sit down somewhere, lady.
But sometimes those grandparents are raising the kids because of whatever situation is happening. So then, like, even though they're their grandmother, they see their grandkids as just like their kids.
That's a good point. But I'm also wondering, this guy that he has like the magazine subscriptions, how do you not know what's in the subscription? What magazines are coming to your house?
Well,
you didn't know that was going to come to your house?
I will say, Out Magazine, I don't know, like, I get Out Magazine, and not because I subscribe to them, but they just send it to me, and I don't know how this happened.
They're probably looking at your social media. They say, "Oh, gay, bling." That's it.
Right. I think I like did like a trial thing, like years ago, and then they just kept coming to my house. So now I'm not paying for it, but they just keep sending them to me. I'm like, all right,
Wow,
I'll look at it for a little bit.
If you have a credit card, sometimes they're like, hey, this just comes with it, and then you don't like choose the subscription, so they I don't know if they look at your spending habits or whatever, but they're like, here, this seems like it's you.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. There you go.
Right,
Can
right.
I'm
All
gonna say,
right.
can
No, go
I just
ahead.
say that I'm also upset that Stitch wrote on that magazine because I want that magazine for the cover, and I'm upset that she messed up this cover with that foolishness.
Well, if you want it, I will send you my copy. I got mine sitting right over here.
Wait, are you for real?
So I do. It's right there. I'll send it to you.
You still got my address?
Yeah, I should. I can find
Okay.
it.
No, for real, because I've been looking for that magazine. And I have not
Really?
found it.
Yeah. No, I'll send it to you. Yeah, it's not even like damaged or anything because it has the paper on it to be private when it comes in the mail. Because people are weird.
Because grandma's right on covers.
Right, right. Jeez. Oh my gosh. All right. So we've got this other topic. Let's finally talk about what I've put in the actual title of this, what people are actually here for. Uh, we've got this weird joke that came up during an episode of Wildin' Out. Let me pull this up on the screen. And let me press play. That's what was said. That's what had happened. That's what people are responding to. What do you guys think about this? Was this as bad as people are making it, or are people kind of blowing this out of proportion?
I've seen way worse. I've heard way worse. I mean, it's not a good joke, but I've seen way worse. I mean, oh my God, a lot worse,
Yeah.
whether it's on television or when you're seeing live performances or especially the drag performances. I mean, they're always going to do jokes about Whitney Houston. They're always going to do jokes about, past celebrities that are not, with us gracing our presence anymore. I've seen way worse. Although I don't think the joke was funny anyways, but
right. Well, yeah, I mean, it was
worse.
probably, it wasn't tasteful, but I think my initial reaction was just like, okay, I was just like, whatever.
Yeah.
It didn't really like hit me as like, oh my God, it was like this horrible, horrible thing. But I'm curious to hear, other reactions because I know a lot of people felt very strongly about this. Yeah. So Marcus, I see, I see a lot of energy. So what's going on?
I'm trying to figure out why she thought that joke was funny. Like, I'm not gonna argue, for against or for people. Some people may take this different ways. What have you. I began and ended it. That wasn't funny. Like, I don't know what you were trying to go for with that. Like, I didn't even get to the whole like, oh, this is this is offensive, though I could see why people would say that. Like, I'm just like, that wasn't funny. Like, what were you even trying to do there?
Right.
So that's kind of where I am. Like,
probably for shock value. That's it. I think,
But
really the objective was for shock value. And, I guess there's no such thing as bad press.
Yeah.
But even in this case of shock value, it wasn't funny. Like, it wasn't entertaining.
Right. Mama Shay, how are you feeling about that?
I'm definitely in line with Marcus. I couldn't find the funny, not because it's like joking about death. I was just like, is that it? Is that where's the punchline? Like, if it was going to lead into something else, like maybe some weird skit about Whitney judging from up in the clouds or something, then I could have. But I was just like, that's all we got with that.
Yeah,
and I had to play it like 4 times just to really hear what she said. Even
right.
I was like, what?
So I'm curious. Like, do you think that people had such a strong reaction to it because of? I mean, because I don't know. Was it part of just being so much of a Whitney fan that the way that them saying anything about Whitney like that was enough to kind of set them off? Because probably. I feel like had it been some other celebrity, it probably would not have hit people quite as hard.
Wasn't Whitney birthday or something, some like anniversary or something of hers? When is just like last week?
Oh,
I don't know. Was it?
I feel like something because I remember a lot of people posting about Whitney doing like one day. I don't remember what it was, but something was going on with her this past week. So that is kind of disrespectful. Like if it was like her birthday or the anniversary of her death, and you joking about that, then I can see people being like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah. So let me read what Jessie Wu, this woman that was talking on stage, she tweeted out her response to this. She said, male comedians and folks on Twitter make jokes about Whitney's battle with drugs still to this day. But me impersonating her during a voicemail game by singing her song and saying I'm dead, a great excuse why she could not come to the phone, but I went too far. And then she continues, the show was called Wild and Out for a reason, and still I was able to say some wild shit without picking low-hanging fruit like her history with drugs, unlike the many comedians who have for decades. I pushed the envelope and I am proud of me.
She does have a good point. Like I was saying, I've heard and I've seen way worse. And the fact that she brings up about, the male comedians getting a pass, she does have a point there. Still, the joke wasn't funny, but she brings up a very good point because I'm now thinking about, Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, which are my two favorite comedians. They say a lot of crazy shit and they get away with it. They don't get the press, such bad press like that. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Dave Chappelle has gotten a lot of pushback, I will say, with
But
some of the latest.
he's still popular. His career is not affected. He's not canceled. And he says, like, I don't care. Like even in one of his jokes, he was talking about the whole cancel culture thing is like, it's you. And like, so he's at a point now where it's like, I don't know, like doesn't matter what he says. Yeah, there's gonna be some pushback, but he's still gonna keep doing his thing and gonna be even more popular, and it doesn't really affect him.
Yeah, yeah. What do you guys like, Mama Shay? What do you think about like what she said here? That she thinks that she was within the bounds of fair comedy.
So again, like my issue isn't of the fairness. It was just dumb. I just didn't. It wasn't there for me. So that I'm just like, girl, get some funnier jokes. Work on your material.
Gotcha.
Like
Okay.
it's not about joking if she's dead. But Whitney is an icon for the Black culture. Like she was our Black fairy godmother, and there's just so much, all of her influence and things that are seen throughout music even today. So I do, but Black folks, we joke about the intense stuff. Like that's kind of how we get through things, and I think that's why Wild and Out and shows anywhere near that with all the jokes and things, like that's why they work.
Yeah.
So that's it wouldn't have been my favorite joke even if it was funny. But like I don't think I would have been necessarily offended by it. I do see why some people are.
Yeah. I mean, I could imagine somebody saying something about like Chadwick Boseman or something, or but
then we're
I just
fighting.
feel like,
Then we're fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
yeah.
too much too soon. But who's to say if they'll ever make a joke about him in the near future? Who knows? Only
Right.
time will tell. But I think if somebody was to do a joke about him right now, yeah, that would be a problem.
Yeah, I mean,
saw
it's
somebody in the comments said that Whitney Houston's birthday was either last Tuesday at some point last week, and then the fact that this Wild and Out episode happened very recently after that, I think the timing of it so close to it, I think that really impacted people, which is why there's even a bigger reaction of this joke.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I can understand that. And I think, timing is probably the biggest factor in this. And also, I mean, I don't know, how long has it been since Whitney passed? I think that's what's kind of, because it's almost like the reaction was like, oh, it's just way too soon. You know what I'm saying? But is it? And like, where do you draw that line? I mean, I guess, what'd you say?
Not for me. Like I feel like it's been a considerable amount of time since she passed, like as far as like the jokes. But like again, it's the funny factor for me. I could have seen somebody saying like her songs like How Will I Know If You Really Love Me? I won't unless you leave me a message. That I would have like at least giggled about.
Right.
But the I'm dead thing, I was just like, it was just deadpan.
Yeah,
No pun
yeah.
intended.
No pun intended. It was just flat.
Okay, got you, got you. I was trying to think what else was going. Marcus, did you have anything else to add to this before we moved into something else?
Not particularly. I agree that sis made the lady who made the joke. She made a good point. Like people were kind of blowing up with what she said when people have said far worse. But I also still, I mean, I said it. Mama Shay said it, and I'm gonna come back around to agree with what she said. Like it just wasn't funny. It's
Yeah, it
like it
wasn't.
just wasn't a good joke.
Yeah.
You're right that people are blowing it out of proportion because it's really not that big of a. Well, I ain't gonna say blow it out of proportion. You are probably being treated unfairly. But one, nobody. I don't think people should necessarily make it a drug addiction jokes either. And then two, if you're gonna do a risque joke, sis, at least make it funny.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There you go. Well, there you have it. It's funny. I see Focused in here. He usually has a very even keel way of expressing himself. I'm assuming he's like a Whitney stan because he's giving me a lot of
Yeah,
energy.
he's giving a lot.
Oh man. Okay, so he really did not like this. Yeah, but some people are, so you're not alone with that. A lot of people are feeling the same way. But when you say something like that, or when you say something that people take negatively, do you feel, I mean, I guess in your personal life, like I guess we all have these moments where we're talking with friends or we're meeting new people and we may say or do something that's a little bit stupid or awkward, and then we go back home and then we beat ourselves up about that. I know at least I do. um, and I don't know, like, what do you think? Do people really judge people based on those small moments that we have with them? What do you,
Unfortunately,
yeah?
yeah. I mean, it's nowadays, there's no room for debate. There's no room to agree to disagree. And any little thing and one comment is like, okay, I'm not your friend anymore. Or there's this whole thing now, it's just like, you can only be my friend if you have the same point of view as I do with everything. We have to agree on everything. And if we don't, get away from me. It's
Got you.
unfortunate.
Yeah. Do you have any personal experience with that?
Very few, because I mean I've been truly blessed that the friends that I have, because I'm extremely particular. See, I don't use the word friend very easily. It's like, to me, that's a serious thing, and you have to earn that title. But I'm very blessed that my friends, we are mature enough that there's room for disagreement, and we don't get upset at each other. It's like, oh no, I'm not your friend anymore. It's, thank God I've never had that issue, but I see it with other people on a daily basis, and especially on social media. It's like friendships are ending because of that. It's really sad, and then it makes you wonder. Well, then you weren't really a friend, or do you just want people to just nod and say yes to you and have that whole phoniness and facade?
Right,
I
right.
don't think that in the long run that doesn't work.
Yeah. Marcus, have you ever had interactions where you're like, you're talking with somebody and then, afterwards you're just like, ugh, why did I say that? I mean, like, what has been have you had any moments like that?
Well, I have had, like a couple of instances like, I shouldn't have said that, or I probably could have handled that situation better. I've had to get to the point though where I don't like dwell on that for a long period of time because that stuff will drive you up a wall. Um, so it'll be like, man, like I wish I didn't say that. I wish I had said this a different way or approached that situation differently. But I try not to, like I say, I try not to dwell in it too much because you can easily just sit up, beating yourself up over things that you really can't change.
Right, right. Um, and that's the thing, because I feel like, when we're trying to connect with people, a lot of times those moments kind of add up to a point where you kind of think something's wrong with you, or you gotta always have to watch what you're saying around people, and it kind of hinders you from actually making connections with people. Um, and Mama Shay, I'm not sure where you are in this. Like, are you at the point where you just don't care, or are you like completely open and just like, I can talk to anybody and I can if I say something stupid, then, oh, well, y'all just gonna have to deal with it? Or are you kind of like where are you with that?
So I guess for this one, I'm somewhere near the middle of it because I'm not going to walk on eggshells around people I consider friends. Acquaintances
Mm-hmm.
and whatnot. I'm probably not going to talk to you a whole lot anyway. Like, maybe in social settings or whatever, but I'm not really going to think about that. But when it comes to my friends, I feel like I'm not going to joke about, like, that would be like, as my best friend and me saying some sort of homophobic quote unquote joke. That's not okay. It's not a joke. So if you're joking about things that are about me or about, people we love, that you like, I'll downgrade you from friend to acquaintance and move along. So I'll just adjust.
Mm-hmm.
If I've said something and I'm like, oh man, I shouldn't have said it that way, I'll come back and be like, hey, so I wanted to call attention to this and clear the air because I don't feel like it was cool.
Okay, got you.
And I'll like take responsibility from that, and then hopefully we can move forward.
Yeah.
I do know some people will count up those little instances and keep like a tally, and then suddenly it's like, this was the last straw because you did this 3 months ago and this 2 weeks ago, and like if you started the tally, then we're not friends at that point.
Yeah.
You're just here to collect information to use against me.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that happens, or at least I've seen that happen with people who avoid confrontation, who are like, anti-confrontation, and they just count up those things to the point where they get to where they can't take anymore. Because I've seen people like that, and I've been quick to say, just tell me. Like, don't sit up and wait until it festers and bubbles over. Like, just let me know so I can address the situation then. But
Yeah.
that's how I move.
Yeah, yeah,
Not
yeah.
everybody moves like that.
I feel like I'm kind of in that. I feel like I'm like that. Like I will, like in normal circumstances, I will speak up and say if something's bothering me or something. But I feel like there are some instances where it's just not. It just would not be. I don't know. I don't know if appropriate is the right word, but it just would not be. Uh, it wouldn't be good. It would just mess up the whole vibe of the setting that you're in. I just know for me personally, and I kind of had this moment yesterday for myself, where I was with somebody and I hadn't said anything because all the other times that we've had an interaction that had bothered me has been a moment where I didn't want to show a lot of negativity or anything like that. I didn't want to come off as somebody who was just, picking at something or being sensitive. Because I mean, I've had a lot of instances where people have just called me sensitive and, or if I bring up something, then, kind of gaslight me and say, this is kind of all in your head or, you got a problem and it's not me. And, so yeah, so I have a tendency to not speak up immediately. And I know that that is one of my challenges.
We're the opposite.
Yeah. Look,
But
I
not
wish,
speaking up
I wish I could
immediately.
have that skill. I wish I could, because I'm working on it. I am working on it, but I wish I could have that skill.
But not speaking up immediately and not ever speaking up are two different things. I understand like not wanting to kill the vibe, like you don't want to create a scene in the middle of like a birthday party or if we're all hanging out.
Correct.
But
Agreed.
then afterwards you can just send that text and be like, hey, something kind of bothered me. Can we talk about that like after the event or the day after or something like that? Or you need time to calm down, and then you need to, kind of gather your thoughts to check with yourself. Am I being too sensitive about this? Did it just hit me wrong? Whatever.
I totally agree. But, instead of the text, I always like to call because I feel like text messages, it can be so just bland and we don't know like the true intentions. And we might, by reading a text, there's just so many different, it can be different
Oh
interpretations.
yeah.
So something like that, like you were saying about birthday parties and things there's been situations like that. And then the next day I pick up that phone and we have a chat, definitely.
Yeah. It's funny we talk about text because I know I like you have to have some punctuation, and you have to have the right tone. Like you can't just be typing any old thing if we have an issue, you know what I'm saying? So you got to be very careful, because I will read what you're writing, you know what I'm saying? If you put, like, I remember I had this one instance where I was talking with somebody, and I said, hey, what's going on? Do you want to blah, 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 blah? And then he wrote back, no, you didn't say, you said, no, no, good morning. He wrote back, no, good morning, but there was like no period or question mark. And I was just like, okay, so now you're correcting me, and now I have to say, you know. But then after talking with him, it was like, no, I was just asking. You said, no, you said no, no, good morning is kind of what he was trying to express. Even still, that's like a little like, nitpicky, because I don't feel like I have to say good morning to you every time
When you're
I
texting, yeah.
every time we're texting. Like if we're close enough, I don't say, I mean, I text y'all every day. I don't say good morning to y'all. I have to say good morning to y'all, I mean, I'm not that, I just feels very formal to me between friends. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I know, like, even Jarrod and I, when we started out being friends, we had some rocky stuff over literally the text, just because we weren't necessarily used to how each other typed or whatever, and it came across with our emotions attached to what the other person said, and it
Right.
wasn't necessarily what the other person was saying at all. But
Yeah.
like, we worked through it, but it wasn't, it wasn't a big deal in the end. But I think we both, even in those situations, like, took responsibility for it. And if it was on my end, if I wrote something, I'm like, I'm sorry, I see how that could be interpreted. It wasn't my intention. This was what it was. I know going forward, and I'll adjust, because I
Right.
valued our friendship at that time. So again, it's like
At
that
that time.
no, just being like, you weren't just an acquaintance at that time. I cared enough, because I still wanted you in the friend category and not the acquaintance.
I got you. I'm just kidding.
Mhm.
Connected is asking, do I mean talking or texting to someone? So when I was talking about my instance, that was a text message communication that we had had. And they wrote that with no punctuation on there. And so I read it as a statement, like, no, good morning, you better fix yourself, as opposed to just asking, where's my good morning? Even though I said, that's still kind of like nitpicky, but whatever. That's a little bit easier than just being like, try it again. You know what I'm saying?
We would have even talked after that. I would have been like, and no afternoon either. Bye.
No good morning, but definitely a goodbye.
Right. Connected says, as someone who is awkward and makes sarcastic jokes to calm my nerves, I often think if something I've said has been offensive to someone I do not have, I do not know or have a relationship with. Um, yeah, I mean, and I think that we can all, I don't know, can we all agree? Like we've had those moments. Um, so yeah, what would we say to focus is, I mean, not focus, connected, as far as not beating, like, how do you not beat yourself up after an awkward moment like that with somebody, so that you can move ahead and communicate with other people and kind of make friends, or even approach, somebody that you think is cute or whatever. How would you get past beating yourself up so much, so that you can be open and actually just move straight ahead? Because
Well,
I feel
it's
like
all
that's what
about
needs to happen.
knowing, getting to know people. Everyone's sensitivity level is going to be in completely different levels. And, you can, of course, apologize, or, clarify, well, this is what I meant. And then to say, well, this was not my intention for you to feel that way. It gets a reaction. Like, you have to trust me and believe me that what I said, this is what my intention was. And at the end of the day, sometimes you did your part, then it really is up to that, individual to either accept that or not.
Mhm.
But it's like, it's nearly impossible to try to, please everybody, especially with, everyone's sensitivity level is it's just
Yeah,
different.
yeah. I mean, I think that we all go through these moments, or I think some of us are a lot more, because I feel like, me and Connected are very similar on this level where we will play in our heads over and over again a certain interaction that we've had. And you can get stuck in that. And we kind of have to really just forgive ourselves for being human in the moment. And I think we also have to give the other person some credit in seeing that, this is not the whole of who I am. This is just, it was a weird moment. Okay, but I can still be your friend. I can still, talk with you later. Um, without kind of placing a complete a complete what do you call it? Well, I don't know, just saying that that's your personality, basically. You know what I'm saying? Just completely discard you. And I think that I think it would be better if we're looking for friendships, if we're looking to kind of connect with people, that we do push past those barriers that we place on ourselves, because it's really just about getting boosting our own self-esteem when in these moments. It goes that finger.
So I think it's like I hear what all of us are saying, and I think it's really important to point out that a lot of us like to control how we come off to other people, and it's a lot about controlling things that you don't have control over, and that's other people's emotions, other people's reactions, other people's interpretations. So you can only take responsibility for you, and I think that's a really important part. So like the playing it over and over, that's not going to change anything. If you do wind up or end up offending somebody, going to them, not just apologizing, but even making a plan. I still intend on being friends. I still want to have interactions with you. How do I avoid this in the future? And just ask them, like, invest in this friendship with me. How help me help you.
Yeah.
And I don't want it to be tumultuous. So let's have this conversation and then move on from there with some very clear goals that you can both hold yourselves accountable. They can hold themselves accountable for, I know you are a good and a kind person. So if I'm offended, I need to kind of check myself and be like, were they trying to hurt me? Or do I just need to say, hey, that was offensive to me. Let's not do it again, knowing that whoever has said it is going to do everything in their power to move forward properly. So self-accountability is a whole lot of it, because you can't control how people internalize stuff. If I don't know you have daddy issues and I make a joke about daddy and then you get offended, you have to ask yourself, do you know me as a person? Do I come off as someone who's like doing that cobra strike at you? Or is it something that you've really internalized, and maybe we should talk about that, and I won't do daddy jokes anymore, and you will work on whatever issues you have like associated with that.
Yeah. I mean, I think when it comes to a point where it seems like you've offended somebody, like, I mean, you kind of have to have that open conversation and, just work through it. But I think, even there are some cases where it's not even that serious to even like bring up again. I mean, like, if you're really confused about like a moment that you had or something that you said and you're not sure if it hit them that way, or if you're sure that they interpreted it a certain way, I mean, you can, if you're close enough to the person, you can ask them, and they'll 9 times out of 10 probably be like, what are you talking, like, like they won't even be thinking about it. You're the one that's playing it over and over in your head. So it's really which can be annoying, but that will also show you that you kind of have to get out of your head and get out of your shell when it comes to these things. I just know with me, I don't know. I feel like, and I don't know if anybody else has had this experience, but I just feel like, growing up, I was just very criticized a lot. And so I think, you kind of get to the point where you're trying to always be perfect, and you're trying to always just say the right things and do the right things. And if you ever slip off, then it's just like, it's like the end of the world. Um, has that been anybody else's experience? I mean, like, no.
Because I mean, look, I grew up in New York. Although my mom did not raise me this way, but life experiences, toughen you up. That's just like, what, if I let people take advantage of me, whether physically or verbally. If they see that they can do it, they're gonna keep doing it. So I had to stand up to myself, like, I'll curse you out, I'll fight you. You know, it's like, I'm standing my ground. Okay, well then if you come at me, then I guess it's fine for me to come at you. So get ready. And that has, you know, helped me out a lot. And then after, I would say 25, like, what was a crazy, like that year when I turned 25, it was like a year of major change. And then I realized afterwards, I'm at a point like, I'm like, I can't please everybody. I know who I am, and it's just like, I can't. So a lot of the times it's like, you have to do what you feel is best for you, trust your instincts, follow it, be confident in that. And, you know, whoever likes it, fine, and whoever doesn't. It's like, it's impossible to please everybody. You'll drive yourself even more crazy with that.
Right, right. Connected is saying in the chat, Mama, I hear you as many times I think what others might think about me is none of my goddamn business. Then my saboteur takes over as I start to think about what I've said or what I've done. Connected is also continues. He says, Jarrod, I was criticized, and that is why I'm somewhat self-conscious about being and doing best. It's an ugly cycle. Yeah, so I mean, and I think that that's just one of those things, like when you grow up with that, it's just you get to a point where it kind of stops you from making different connections and stuff, and it stops you from just being completely open about who you are and really kind of accepting yourself. And that's really like one of those foundational things that you need in order to actually connect with people and to go out into the world. Like if you don't have that self-esteem or that self-confidence because you're too worried about uh how people are reacting to a certain thing, or being like the perfect person in every moment, then you're not really gonna get anywhere. You're gonna continuously be stuck
Yeah, you
in.
won't develop the social skills. You need to have heightened social skills in order to make it in this world.
Exactly. Marcus, do you have anything to add? You're kind of quiet over here. What's up? What are you thinking?
um, um, I'm not sure if I have too much that changes things. I guess change perspective too much. Um, I think for me, I didn't necessarily have that type of experience to where I look and kind of dwell on a lot of those things as far as like necessarily how much I'm coming across, which may be a good and a bad thing. Um, so yeah, this isn't necessarily like the best realm for me, but I think I would say that kind of how I avoid dwelling too long on the times when I do feel as if like, oh, I could have done things better, is I kind of always tell myself, well, if something is happening, or if something has gone wrong, if someone feels some sort of way, they would say something. Because of how I navigate situations, like if I feel some sort of way, I will let it be known. And most of the people in my life have done the same. They maybe take some time to kind of to collect themselves and to see what's the best way to bring this type of thing. But it's still like, okay, if something is bothering you, I think it's better to kind of to say so. After you figured out, how is the best way to say that. I guess.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
It's interesting because when we say like you won't ever develop those social skills to kind of be to be social, or to be completely open and free. I feel like there's a bad side to that, and I feel like Mama Shay, you touched on that a little bit when you talked about our need to control situations. And I feel like I don't know, a part of being social is just kind of getting rid of the control. It's just kind of putting it out there and just going with the flow. And a lot of people, when they don't have that control, they don't know they don't really know what to do. And so, I guess the bad side of that would be to be a controlling kind of whether that's a controlling partner, or whether that's a controlling friend, or somebody who just always has to have people in line, or have people behave a certain way at all times. Um, but yeah, I thought that was a really interesting word that you'd used, and I think that that's a an interesting point.
I think
But
it's growing a
also,
lot.
oh, go ahead,
I
Mama.
think it's growing a lot with social media because we are curating pictures, we are curating scenes, we are staging everything. And so we have to keep in mind that while we might stage things for the gram, stage the picture, what have you, you have to realize that that is a stage you are playing for other people, and don't live your life in that same way. So, those organic connections are going to come when you act organically. And
Yeah.
we see the control issue come out in different ways. Some people, they always have to be the center of attention, but that's because they know how and what they're going to do, and they can control the reactions that way, whether it be shock value or, this has to be a loving scene, everybody calm down. If people are passionate, let them be passionate, let them have their moment. And so a lot of times we say, oh, that person always has to be the center of attention. It's because they are scared to death of what will happen when they are not in control. They don't know how they're going to react. They're not good with themselves, but they also don't know how to manage other people and their reactions and how to like play off of it.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
think it's all like tied into like the social media and how much that really plays into curating who you are versus existing.
Right. Yeah, I got that. Connected is also saying, I'll get to you, Khalid, in a quick second, but he's also saying, I think we're all in some form are trying to control how we are seen or viewed in this digital world where we are all brands.
Mm.
So he speaks directly to what you said. And I think he typed that, but as you were saying that, so that was pretty cool. You guys were kind of on the same wavelength there. Khalid, you seemed like you had something else to add.
Yeah, just one more thing in regards to this. It's like, you kind of have to assess who you want in your life, because I've come across people, it's like no matter what I say, oh my God, it's offensive. You kind of have to just let those people go, which is like if everything I say to you is offensive or everything that you see is offensive, it's like, okay, there comes a point it's like you have underlying issues. It's like, so everything is a problem for you. You're so sensitive about everything. And I know you've come across people, or people that know somebody this is like, oh my God, you can't say anything to this person because they're
Mhm.
sensitive about everything. For that, please just be by yourself.
Right.
And then you
Right.
kind of have to let that person go. It's like, okay, I gotta, be on pins and needles, and I can't say anything. It's like, who wants to be around somebody like that?
Yeah, yeah. And I think the thing is like, at least for me, it's like I don't want to be that person. And so that's why I don't always try to speak up when something bothers me, because I feel like people will easily put that label on you when it's not necessarily
Hmm.
true, you know? But of course, there are those people who are just like, everything is a clapback or
Oh
everything
my
is,
God.
it's like, you know, you're speaking up, you're speaking out on everything. You know what I'm saying? So,
Everybody
there has to
lives
be some
for the
balance.
read.
What'd you
And
say?
so I said, everybody lives for the read.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Don't tell me about it. Jeez. I mean, and that's another thing. That's why it's so hard to like have friendships with gay men, because a lot of and I'm not saying like all of us. I'm saying there are a lot of us though who like to get back at you real quick with a nice little quick one-liner or something, and it's not cute. It's just not. You know
It's
what I'm
not.
saying? Like it's like if you and your friend joke like that once in a while, then that's one thing. But that's if
But
you're
if
meeting
it's all
somebody
the
new.
time, it's an issue. If it's something that I've learned, I forgot who said this, but somebody said, if it's hysterical, it's historical. So if you say something and they have such like the reaction is like overreacting, then there's more of a real underlying issue going on. There's something else going on there, and now you're blowing up, and then you're taking it out on me of like several other things that happened to you, and then
Hmm.
this just one thing just kind of triggered it, and that's something to look at too, to make an assessment. It's like, okay, I can mess with this person or not. But a lot of the times, what I've noticed when people they have an overreaction of things and they really want to clap back of everything, there's other underlying issues going on, and just whatever you just said, or even that one word, it triggered them off, and it's like, and they just it's go down. So a lot of the
Hmm.
times, it's like they have other things that they have to deal with, and
Yeah.
then you just happen to be, the target at that time.
Right. I mean, it's always funny because you can always tell, like, oh, okay, this kind of hit you a little too hard.
Yeah, there you
What
go.
else is going on there, you know? But I think, what we can leave everybody with as far as this question is concerned is like, when you're trying to meet somebody new and you can't dwell on being so perfect in every situation. You kind of have to just kind of be you and let the guard down and understand that the other person is in the same position. They have to be themselves and they may be feeling the same type of thing that you're feeling. I guess the more confident of us probably don't go through that quite as often, but they understand that everybody's human. They understand that everybody makes mistakes, and if you make a mistake when in their presence, then okay, they're able to see past that. So you have to give yourself some grace, and you have to just as you would give them some grace if they made a mistake or were a little bit awkward or whatever in front of you. So you can't go home and beat yourself up about that. uh you know Let it slide off your back and just move into the next new connection with a blank slate, and let it be what it is. And yeah, and I think that will be positive for your social interactions moving forward. Now I did forget to get out, because what we were going to do at the beginning of every show, and this was something I just had asked Mama Shay to do maybe like minutes before we started, so that's why I forgot. But I do want to ask. She was going to do she reads oracle cards, so she was going to read an oracle card for the show. So why don't you tell us what you pulled and what that means for us here?
So it actually, I feel like, ties into all of this conversation that we've had, because I pulled it right before the show, and I pulled the Power of Attraction. So that is a beautiful card. I love this set. But it's all, what you're putting out there. And if you're going into situations with all that negativity piled up on you, and just one more thing is going to make you snap, maybe you need to back up from the energy that you're putting out there, because it does definitely like attracts like. And I know a lot of people will be like, oh, flies or not flies, but you can get attract more bees with honey than type of thing. And it's like, yeah, but you put out light and mosquitoes come too. It's not just other light. Mosquitoes come along with that and everything. So, attraction is definitely part of it. You'll see a bunch of like negative people kind of cling together, and it's always catty. I know y'all love Real Housewives, but that is how I see that. I'm just like, woo, that can never be my friend group.
I think that's a lot of us. We just like to watch it on TV. We even trying to be in that mess.
Yeah, so Power of Attraction, we've attracted 2 new regular co-hosts with me and Khalid.
Yes.
And hopefully attract a couple more viewers. So yeah, just really pay attention, I guess, for here and throughout the week on what we're attracting and what we're putting out there.
Awesome. I love that. Okay, so good way to end the show. We are going to jump into splitting the bill. And I just want to thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, Khalid and Mama Shay, for your first full show as official co-hosts. Thank you, Marcus, for joining us as well, and to all of our viewers, thank you again. Now let's raise our glass. I have nothing in my glass right now.
I got nothing on
you
me.
can look. You can just raise an invisible glass.
My love to the union, my love. Like what's in mercado? Mucho y mucho amor,
Until next time, be careful what you say, because the boys will brunch. Take care.